Hello everyone, Tina here. Thank you so much for joining me for part 2 of the 10 cards 1 kit with the Simon Says stamp April 2019 card kit. It is so fun. It's called Hello Darling, and we're going to start off by making card number 6. If you missed part 1, I'll link it at the end of the video. That way you can check out all 10 cards. But I'm starting off by stamping this little flower with a pink ink. The pink ink I'm using is from MFT, it's bubblegum. The blue ink is snow cone. I stamped 3 flowers in total. And then I'm going to add a couple of leaves right next to the flowers. This little leaf image is the one that has 2 connected. I'm going to fussy cut these 3 flowers out. This card's pretty simple, but I did want to add a little extra dimension. So I'm taking a stitched rectangle die. This is going to cut out a panel that measures 2.5 inches by 3 3/4. And it's a fun panel that has little stitch lines, which is nice. I'm going to add some fun foam behind my little panel here. And I'm going to use my glue to secure it to the back. And then we're going to add a little bit of white twine on the very bottom. I'm just wrapping it around once, and then we're going to tie a bow, trim off the tails, and then we'll add a little glue to the back and place this in the center of our cotton candy card base. This is the cardstock that came with the kit. I just scored it and folded it to create a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. Now I'm adding my 3 little flowers. I did pop them up with some foam tape. And then for my I want to finish off my sentiment. It says thank you, but I thought we would add simply blessed right below the word thank you. And then to add a finishing touch, I'm going to use my white gel pen and do a little faux stitching. I haven't did that in a while. I'm going to do it all around the outside edge of my little focal point there. I wanted a little extra sparkle, so I'm going in with some Nuvo glitter drops. I believe these are chocolate fondue. And I added them to the middle of the largest flower, and it didn't look too good to me. So I ended up wiping it off. And I'm happier with the flower center that was already in there. But that finishes off card number 6. Okay, we're going to move along to card 7. I have some elements here. I'm going to take a heart die that I have in my stash and cut out a medium-sized heart with the yellow and white stripe paper. And then taking a smaller heart from my stash, I'm going to cut out a small heart from this cut-apart sheet. I'm not going to use the sentiment in the cut-apart sheet. I'm just going to use the heart that was in it. It coordinates with that pattern paper there beautifully. I die cut out a circle using the pink gingham plaid paper. Actually, it's not plaid, it's just gingham pattern paper. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment. I chose a sentiment in the stamp set that says, "Today is the perfect day because I know you." I'm going to trim off a little bit off the circle on the right hand side, and then we're going to add some foam tape behind here. And we're going to place this circle on our panel that I cut out with a stitched rectangle die that measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. And the circle size is about a 3.5 inch circle. We'll just remove the release paper and add that to our panel. And my sentiment is just slightly off, and it was throwing me off with that gingham print. So I'm going to trim off a little bit more of the circle. And I'm going to add some dimension or foam behind my hearts. And then this was going to go in the center of our circle where the sentiment is. And then we're going to add our medium heart to the left. And then we'll add our smaller heart to the right. We're going to flip this panel over, add some tape behind it. And then we're going to secure this down to our card base. This card base is one I pulled in from my stash. It's made from white cardstock. And then add a little sparkle. I'm going to go around the striped heart, just the white stripes on it, with my Nuvo glitter drops. These are White Blizzard. I'm going to add a little bit of glitter to some flowers on the middle-sized heart. And I thought we'll add a little sparkle to the background too. So all those little flowers I'm adding dots of glitter to. And then when it dries, it'll be nice and soft and sparkly. That finishes off card number 7. Okay, now we're going to move along to card number 8. I'm going to be stamping the flower pot. I didn't use the smaller one in my 10 cards, but I'm going to use the larger one here. I'm using some chocolate brown ink from MFT, and I'm going to stamp that on some white cardstock. And then using my scissors, I'm going to fussy cut this out. Now once this fussy cut out, I have a panel here, and I actually didn't measure the size for you guys, but it's 5.5 inches tall and 3 inches wide, and I wanted to create a real subtle background. So I'm bringing in my mini cloud edges stencil. Everything that I use for my 10 cards, guys, I'll link down below in case you guys are interested. But using my blending brush here, I'm just going to add a little light shading with my Oxide ink. This is Tumbled Glass, and create a nice soft cloudy background. I went almost all the way down to the bottom. Okay, I am going to take a circle die and cut out a partial circle on the right side of this panel. We'll just tape it down and run it through our die cut machine. Okay, now we need to, I trimmed down a piece of pattern paper. This is the wood grain pattern paper. There was an image on this pattern, but I just trimmed around it to create this strip. And it's a 1-inch strip I just placed on the bottom of my panel. And I think that makes a nice ground for my little flower pot. Okay, we're going to grab some of our stems, and I'm going to ink them up with my MFT Sour Apple ink. We're going to grab a different one here. This is the longer stem that has 2 leaves on it. I'm going to stamp it once. I want to ink it up one more time and then stamp it right on top. I wanted to create some very long flower stems, so layering them together was very easy. I'll take the second one, and right next to the first stem, I'm going to stamp it once, and then I'll stamp it one more time, and this one's going to be a little bit longer. And then I'll take the smallest little stem in the leaves and stamp that once also, kind of evenly spacing them. Okay, there's one little single leaf in the stamp set, and I'm making sure it's the right way. And this is a great way to add a little extra detail to these longer stems. So if you want to make a stem that goes the full length of your card, you could with that extra little leaf there. Okay, now instead of flowers, I thought everyone's probably going to do flowers. Let's do something different. So I'm going to take the hearts. Starting off with the largest heart, I'm going to ink it up with my bubblegum ink and stamp this on the largest stem. I'll take the medium-sized heart, and then I'm going to bring in some peach Bellini, and we'll stamp this heart all the way to the left here. I'll take one size smaller heart. It's kind of a flat, wide one. We're going to use the same peach Bellini ink and stamp that on the very lower flower. Okay. In the stamp set, there's a little 3-dot cluster. I'm going to add little dots of chocolate brown ink on the very tops of my hearts, just so they look a little more like flowers. And then I am going to take the little single dot that's in the stamp set. It's just a little solid circle. I think it's meant to dot the flowers, but I'm going to use it as a little accent. So I'm going to dot with some snow cone ink in the background, just adding a little bit more detail back there. And I think that looks great. Okay, next we're going to add some foam tape behind our little flower box. And then we're going to place that back on our panel. Lovely. Okay, now I cut out a circle that was slightly smaller than the circle that we cut out of on our panel. Now, I used the pattern paper that's the same pattern paper as the 1-inch strip on the very bottom of our panel, and I took the sticker in the stamp set that says "Love This Life" and placed that on that wood grain circle. There's a diagonal stripe border stamp in the stamp set. I'm going to use my same chocolate brown ink and stamp that to the left of my card just to bring in a little bit more brown. And then we're going to flip this panel over, add some foam tape, and pop that up on our card, offsetting it a little bit to the right. And then I did do the same thing with my circle sticker sentiment there. I finished it off by adding Enjoy Today. It's one of those stickers also. And then also tied a single bow with some natural colored twine and placed it right above that Love This Life sticker. And then I thought we would add some sparkle to this one. So I'm going to use my White Blizzard Nuvo glitter drops and add them just to the chocolate brown dots that are on top of my hearts, my heart flowers there. And then that finishes off card number 8. I just love the colors of this kit. I think there's a beautiful color palette. Okay, for card number 9, I wanted to use this beautiful rain boot planner die. So I'm going to die cut this out with Nina 80-pound cardstock, and then I did color it in. Now I only colored in the tulips and the leaves and the bottom of the boots. And then I also die cut it out with the foam sheet that came in the kit, but for some reason it could have been an OE error, an operator error, which would have been me. It just didn't work out too good. So we're going to put that aside. And I wanted to do my rain boots with this pattern paper. So I'm going to cut out actually at a diagonal. I'm going to cut it out, just the rain boots. And then I'm going to cut it out again at a different diagonal. This way when I layer them both together, right now you can see it looks like one like a huge boot. But if you do it in two different diagonal patterns, there'll be a little bit more definition. So I'm going to start off by cutting out the boot that's in the forefront, and it's pretty easy to do because it's embossed. The die itself has embossed detail, so you just go around the embossed detail line. So that's my forefront boot. And then for the second one, I'm going to cut around the front of the boot, and I did leave a little bit of extra paper right next to it that will be able to tuck this boot right on top of it. Now using my Distress Oxide ink, this is Vintage Photo, I'm going around the edges of my boot, and this is going to add a little bit more definition, a little bit more dimension to the boots. I'm going to go ahead and tape down my forefront boot, and I'm using the score lines as a guide. I've got to trim a little bit off the top here. And you can see here the two different diagonal stripes. Just give it a little bit. They look like two different boots technically, but but at least you can differentiate between the two boots. So I'm hoping the recipient won't notice that it kind of looks like two different boots, but I think it worked. I'm just adding foam adhesive behind my pattern paper here, and then we're going to line up our boots on top of our Copic colored die cut there. Okay, I wanted a little more definition, so I'm bringing in some brown Copic markers and adding a little detail to the very bottom of the boot and then to the lip of the top of the boot. Just using my blender to kind of blend it out a little bit. And I was happy with that. I think it turned out pretty. Okay, we're going to add some foam tape behind here, but before we add this to our card base, which is the chocolate brown, dark chocolate cardstock that came in the kit, I'm going to stamp my sentiment. I'm going to heat emboss with white embossing powder, and the sentiment that I chose says, "From the bottom of my heart, thank you." So I'm inking up my stamp with my watermark ink, and then I'm going to go over it with white embossing powder, and then I'll go ahead and melt it. Okay, I'm just rubbing away my powder tool there, and my rain boots are going to go there, but since the sentiment was so pretty, it says "From the bottom of my heart," I thought we'd add some hearts. So we're going to heat emboss some white hearts on the back of our card base, and then for a little added detail, I'm going to use my white gel pen and add a few little highlights to my tulips with that. And then that finishes off card number 9. Now for card number 10, you're going to have to forgive me. I thought the camera was rolling, and it wasn't. So this is card number 10, and I'm going to have to kind of walk you through it. But my background panel is cut to 4 inches by 5 1/4, and I'm using the ivory cardstock. And then I'm using this die from MFT, and it is called the Stitch Domes Frames. I cut it out with the wood grain pattern paper and then also with the ivory cardstock for the center. I added the sentiment here that says, "Just a card to say hello and you're amazing," and then added a few little stickers. So I did pop the stickers up, a couple of them, with some dimensional adhesive. But that's card number 10. It was pretty simple, and I'm sorry I lost the footage on that. I will be more careful next time, but I don't know what happened. I was rolling, but wasn't rolling with the camera. So here's all 5 cards that I made for part 2. And then if you did miss part 1, I'm going to show you quickly the 5 cards that I made from part 1. And again, I'll link part 1 at the end of the video if you want to check that out. And I did show a little bit of the unboxing, showing what came in the kit in part 1. But I thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope this gives you some ideas and different inspiration on how to use the kit. I love card kits, and I get so excited when I get to play with them. This is the Simon Says Stamp April 2019 card kit. And I thank you again for joining me and all your wonderful comments, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.